Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is SUKKAH Chaf Vav. We begin 2 lines from the bottom on Chaf Hey Amud Beis. Says the Brisa, Tanu Rabbanan. Now Rashi explains that this Brisa disagrees with yesterday's sugya that oisik b'mitzvah is patur min mitzvah. This Brisa holds one who is involved in a mitzvah isn't necessarily exempt from doing other mitzvahs. Rather, the chassan and his group of friends will be patur from certain mitzvahs because of certain specific reasons. Tanu Rabban Chassan v'ashashvinin and his group of close friends involved in his celebration. V'chol b'nei chuppah and all those attending the chuppah. We learned yesterday that they used to have this chuppah, this canopy set up as a place to celebrate the Sheva Brachos throughout the Shiva Yemei HaMishta following the wedding. So all those engaged in this celebration are peturin minat tefillah. Why? Says Rashi, because tefillah is baya kavana. You need a high degree of kavana, of concentration when it comes to tefillah, which is hard to find during this celebration. Uminat tefillin, Rashi says, they're pater from tefillin mishum deshchicha shichrus v'kalas roish. Intoxication, lightheadedness is to be found in this time period, and therefore Chacham did not want them to get involved in wearing tefillin. V'chayavan b'kriyas shema, but they must read Kriyas Shema because even though it also requires kavana, says Rashi, the ikar mitzvah's kavana is only pasuk rishon, Shema Yisrael, and for that short period of time they have the ability to clear their minds and concentrate. So according to Tanakama, all those involved in celebration, Chassan and his friends, must say Kriyas Shema. Mishum Rabbi Shila Amru. In the name of Rabbi Shila it was said, Chassan Pater. The Chassan will have a hard time even concentrating for that first pasuk, so he's Pater from Kriyas Shema. However, Vashashvinin, V'chol b'nei chuppah chayav, and everybody else is chayiv. And again, Rashi learns it's not based on oisik but mitzvah patur min mitzvah. Actually, this Tana disagrees. He holds oisik but mitzvah is chayiv b'mitzvah. The reason why we exempt them from tefillah is because they don't have the ability to concentrate. From tefillin, because it's inappropriate for them to wear tefillin. And the chassan from Kriyas Shema because he can't concentrate. Taisus disagrees. He says this brisa can agree in concept that oisik but mitzvah is patur min mitzvah. Rather, this brisa holds that, at least Rabbi Shila holds, that anybody other than the chassan has the ability to properly say Kriyas Shema, and therefore there's no reason to be pater him. Taisus is going lishitasam. We learned this yesterday, that the whole Torah of oisik b'mitzvah is only if you don't have the ability to perform both mitzvahs at once. But in this case, as Taisus, it's not an interference. They could just take a break and say Kriyas Shema. Continues the Gemara. Tanya Amar Rabbi Chananya ben Akavya. Listen to this chiddush. Koisvei svarim, a sefer, engaged in writing sefer Torah. Tefillin or mezuzos. Hein, the writers themselves. V'tagarein, and the dealers, the merchants, the wholesalers, engaged in providing tashmishe kedusha to the general public. V'tagore tagarein, and the second level merchants, meaning the retailers as well. V'chol ha'iskin, melechas shemaim, and all those engaged in melechas shemaim, heavenly activities. What does this mean? Le'asuya, to include moichrei tchelis, even those engaged in selling tchelis tzitzis to the general public, since they're involved in mitzvah provision. Peturin mikriyas shema, uminat tefillah, uminat tefillin. They're pater from everything. They're oisik b'mitzvah, pater min mitzvah. Umukol mitzvahs, hamuris b'Torah. L'kayim divrei Rabbi Yisrael Aglili. This is in fulfillment of Rabbi Yisrael Aglili's words. Shaya Rabbi Yisrael Aglili Omer, oisik b'mitzvah, pater min mitzvah. Now, Farshim ask, why are we referring to Rabbi Yisrael Aglili in specific? We had a whole sugi yesterday. It wasn't just his shita, and the Farshim answer that there's a greater chiddush here. It's not my mitzvah. I'm doing it to provide tashmisha kedusha, to serve another Jew's mitzvah. that is reason enough to exempt me from mitzvah. It's called oisik b'mitzvah, patur min mitzvah, in this case as well. And this was Rabbi Yisrael Glili's chiddush. It says Rashi, 3 lines from the top, tagreyan. Listen closely to the words of Rashi. Chavetz Chaim is medayik like this. Rashi says, haloikchin meihen k'dei limkar, ulamtzion litzorach lehem. The Tagorim are exempt from other mitzvahs because they're purchasing the Tashmisha Kedusha Kedei Limkar Ulam Tzion Litzarach Lahem. They're motivated by the fact that they're going to be mezakah somebody with a mitzvah. So that's what's driving them. Says the Chavetz Chaim in Bir Halacha that in order for a merchant to be considered Eitzuk mitzvah, he has to be at least somewhat motivated by a spiritual quest to provide mitzvahs for people. And he says, although, of course, his interest is also parnasa, right? There's a dual interest here, but at least partially. At least he has to be partially motivated by this kavanah to be mamtzi, to provide the mitzvahs to those in need. Otherwise, he says, then you're just a merchant, you're just a businessman, you're not really involved in mitzvah. But, he says, that this is only regarding merchants. Rashi only adds this description to the merchants. But when it comes to the Sefer himself, who's writing the Sefer Torah, says the Chavetz Chaim, that in itself is a maaseh mitzvah. So although he's perhaps only motivated by financial interest, parnas, schera, still, says the Chavetz Chaim, is considered oisik mitzvah because this is in itself is a maaseh mitzvah. When it comes to dealing, it comes to wholesaling, retailing, which isn't really necessarily a maaseh mitzvah, over there you need at least some sort of, at least it should be partially motivated by ruchniistic interest. Lahamtzi latzarach lahem. And he says, even if it's partially motivated by that interest, it's enough. And that makes it a mitzvah, in which case, oisik mitzvah, patur and mitzvah. And the Mepharshim speak out, of course, was speaking that he's needed for the job right now. Somebody's standing here, about to leave town, unless he writes a Sefer Torah right now, writes a tefillin, this fellow won't have a mitzvah. So it's all relative to the circumstance. If indeed it's crucial that he gets involved in the mitzvah right now, to write the Sefer Torah, etc., then he's a oisik mitzvah, and patur from all other mitzvahs. Continues Gemara Tana Rabbanan. We learned in the Brayso, Hoilchei Drachim, a traveler, traveling on Sukkahs. Rashi says he's traveling for Schera, Parnasa. This fellow is patur min mitzvah, patur from Sukkah. Hoilchei Drachim, B'yayim, if he's traveling by day, P'turim min Sukkah B'yayim. So although he's not called oisik mitzvah, to be patur from all mitzvahs, but when it comes to mitzvah Sukkah, he's patur from Sukkah, because he's traveling by day. Hoilchei derech is patur from Sukkah. V'chayavim b'layla. Of course, come nighttime, he has to go ahead and find a Sukkah. Tosfos says, of course, we're speaking that he's in an inhabited area. You can find a Sukkah nearby. Hoilchei derech b'layla. If he's traveling at night, p'turim min Sukkah b'layla. These fellows are exempt from sleeping in a Sukkah at night. V'chayavim b'yayim. Of course, by day, when they're idle, when they're resting, they must go ahead and live in a sukkah. If they're traveling by day and by night, then they're fully exempt from mitzvah sukkah. Why? What's the pshat in this p'tur? Says Rashi, 4 lines from the top. And we learn from there that your dwelling in the sukkah should be similar to your all year round dwelling. Ke'ein yeshiva space. And therefore we say, Kashem shekol hashana einay nimna. Mileches b'derech b'schera. Just as all year round. One wouldn't hesitate to leave his home temporarily to embark on a business trip. Kach kol yimei sachan she'enay yom tov. Likewise, throughout Sukkot, lo yitzricha yakasel v'noya. Torah doesn't require him to stay at home, stay in the sukkah. So the yeshiva sukkah, the sukkah dwelling, is meant to be reminiscent of the all year round dwelling. And just as a person will leave on a business journey, throughout the year. Likewise on Sukkahs, even at the expense of mitzvah Sukkah. Now, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Igros Moshe, points out that this is only a heter for schora, for business. It's a chiddush that just taking a leisure trip on Sukkahs doesn't justify negation of mitzvah Sukkah. And he explains as follows. He says, imagine if a person decides, I want to live out my backyard, under the open air, throughout the year. That's the way I live. Are you going to say he's potter from Sukkah, on Sukkahs? Teishu Kein Taduru? You can't force him to live indoors. I like to live outdoors. I like to camp out. Of course not. Says Rav Moshe, that's not a reason to be potter. Torah tells you to live in a Sukkah. So what then is the Torah here? Rashi says, because you leave on schora trips throughout the year. And that exempts you from Sukkah. So he says, because it's a necessity. It's part and parcel of a person's life. Throughout the year, there's no way to ignore these schora parnasa needs of a person, and that sometimes necessitates a trip. That's just part of life. And therefore, Sukkot likewise follows that same model. But, says Rav Moshe, something which isn't really necessary. A leisure trip isn't necessary for proper living. It's not like schora, which is a necessary component of one's life. Therefore, he says, when it comes to a leisure trip, that wouldn't justify doing away with mitzvah sukkah. It's a chiddush for Moshe. So a trip on Chol HaMoed requires sukkah. Continues the Gemara. Hoilchin ledvar mitzvah p'turin bein bayayim u'malayla. Now we're going to go back to Isaac with Dvar Mitzvah. If one is traveling for a mitzvah purpose, so these fellows are potter by day and by night. Rashi explains because they're still busy. They're torah v'doyeg machshavas mitzvah even at night. Taisus learns, we're speaking where having to look for a sukkah would interfere with their ability to do their mitzvah the next day. They're going to have to spend half the night building a sukkah. It's going to interfere, and therefore it's EF Shalakayim Shneim, they're potter from sukkah. As we see in the following story. Ki had Rav Chizda, Rabba Barav Huna, Ki Abu Aili b'Shabbat de Rigla. These two, Rav Chizda and Rav Huna, when they were traveling, when they came into the area of the Reish Galusa, they were traveling to the head of the Gullus and Bavel on Shabbos of Regel, meaning Shabbos of Sukkot, to go learn from him, to go be Mekabel Panim, which is a mitzvah. So coming in the Reish Galusa, Havuganu Araksa, they would sleep on the riverbed, the Surah, in Surah. Meaning they didn't go look for a sukkah. They said, Amri, Anan shlucha mitzvah, Anan upturin, we're shlucha mitzvah. Even though we're not actually doing a mitzvah, we're traveling to do a mitzvah. And that is reason enough to exempt us from sukkah. Tanarabban, Shomrei Ir. The city guards who are patrolling the city, Shomrei Ir, b'yayim, if they're doing it by day, p'turim and asukah b'yayim, they're pater by day. V'chayavim b'layla, of course they're chayav at night. Shomer b'layla, they're patrolling at night. Peturim and asukah b'layla, they're exempt at night. V'chayavim b'yayim, they're chayav by day. Shomer ir bein b'yayim u'bein b'layla, they're patrolling by day and by night. Peturim and asukah bein b'yayim u'bein b'layla. What about shomer ginei supardesim? They're guarding the gardens, the vegetable gardens, and the fruit orchards. Peturim bein b'yayim u'bein b'layla. Since they're involved in patrolling around the clock, they're pater around the clock as well. Says the Gemara, well, if they're located in a specific area, specific orchard, specific farm, why don't they just make a sukkah out there? Let them build a sukkah out there. And sit in the sukkah. We have two terutzim. Abaya Amar, Teishu Kein Tadura. Your sukkah dwelling is meant to resemble your all year round dwelling. Rashi explains. In your house, you have furniture, etc. And that you can't really bring out to the sukkah out in the farm. It's strenuous to go and take out your whole household, all your furniture out to the farm. Some of Farshim explain it's not the derech to bring furniture out to a hut where it's going to rain tomorrow. So a person wouldn't set up his living quarters in this manner, and therefore a sukkah, which can't resemble, can't duplicate a person's typical Malkam Dira, is not considered a sukkah. He's potter from sukkah, and that circumstance. Rav Amar, Pirza Kaira Lekanav. You have a breach on a wall. What does that do? It announces, it advertises to the Ganav, come, here's the opening. Come right through and take what you need. So this is a mashal. Imagine the guard who's engaged in guarding the farm makes a little shack in the corner. Basically, he's advertising, well, this is where I'm going to be for 7 days. Ganav, go to the other side where I won't notice you. So it's not practical. And since it could generate hefset, he's going to reveal his whereabouts. Well, once again, a person wouldn't set up his makim dira in a manner which creates hefset. So contravenes the concept of teishu kein tadur. Is there a difference between Abayis pshat, that furniture won't be taken out to the field, it's not kein taduru, and Rav's pshat, that's going to create hefset? The difference is in the case of the kamintar karya de peri. Suppose he's guarding a pile, a kri of peri, of fruit, of produce. He's not making his rounds. He's positioned in a very specific location. So according to Abaye, it won't work because it's not a place to bring out furniture, etc. According to Rava, there's no concern about revealing his position because he just has to stay right here throughout the 7 days. So certainly in this case, according to Rava, he's chayav to build a sukkah. Continues more chaylim u'mishamshem. They're also pater from sukkah. Tanarabon chayla she'amru. The chayla that we discussed is loy chayla sheyesh be'sakana. Isn't necessarily a chayla whose life is in danger. Of course, he's pater from all mitzvahs. Ela afilu chayla she'ein be'sakana. Even a chayla whose life is not in danger. And staying out in the sukkah wouldn't necessarily put his life in danger. Afilu chash be'einav. Even if he has an ailment in his eyes, afilu chash be'roisha, he has a headache. Om Rab Shimon Gamliel. In fact, pam achas. There was once a time that chashti be'einai. I had pain in my eye, Bekesri, in that town. Vehitir, Rabbi Yesi Berebi, Rabbi Yesi, the great one, Rashi says, he's Choref Bedoiroi, Rabbi Yesi ben Chalafta. So he gave me a heter. Lishan ani, Mesham Sheichot Sukkah, not only for myself, but for my attendants as well. He allowed us to sleep out of the sukkah. Rav, Shorla Rav Achbardla, Rav allowed Rav Achbardla, Lamigna Bekilta Besukkah, to sleep in a canopy in a sukkah, although by sleeping in a canopy, you're taking yourself out of the sukkah. He allowed it. Mishum Baki, because Rav Acha was being disturbed by these fleas or mosquitoes. So he really was a mitzvah. He was in distress from the sukkah, and he was allowed to sleep out of the sukkah. So you allowed him to sleep in a kila. Rava Sharle Rabbi Achabar Ada. Rava allowed Rabbi Achabar Ada lemigna bar memtalata, to sleep outside the sukkah. Mishum sircha, because of the foul smell coming from the floor, the gargishta, the mud, which was used to plaster the floor. Rava followed his sheet. The Rava, mitzdayer pater min sukkah, one who is in distress on account of the sukkah, he is pater from sitting in a sukkah. Says the Gemara, is that so, that every mitzdayer is pater? Vanantanan, take a look at our Mishnah. Chaylet u'misham sheim. Turim min sukkah, only a chayla, not just any mitzdayer. Says the Gemara, really, mitzvah is pater, but a chayla is even more pater. Chayla in mitzvah as a kasha. Chayla in, we see only a chayla mitzvah, but a simple ordinary mitzvah is not pater. You have to force yourself to sit in the sukkah. It's a kasha on Rava. And says the Gemara, Amri, they said as follows: chayla, when it comes to a chayla, it's a higher level exemption. Hu mishamshav turim. Not only is he pater, but also his mishamshav. They don't want to leave him alone. They're going to be bitzar if he's left alone. So they have to accompany him, and they're pater from sukkah as well. When it comes to mitzdayer, who pater? Of course he's pater, but not mishamshav. Mishamshav loy, they're not pater from sukkah. Continues the Gemara, oichlim achilas aray chutz sukkah. One can have a snack outside the sukkah. V'kam achilas aray. Up until what point is it considered a snack? How much? Rav Yosef tarti at last bay 2 or 3 egg worths of food. Amali Abaye, that's a whole meal. But zimna sagin, many times sagale leinish ba'achi. That amount of food suffices for a person. It's a full breakfast. Vavo yisudas kva, that's a real meal. How can you consider that merely a snack? Elam Abaye, so Abaye says, a much smaller amount. The time bar berav, the amount that a Talmud in the Beis Medrash would quickly grab, va'ila kala, before he goes into the shir, for concern that the shir will get prolonged and he's not going to have a chance to have his breakfast. So he grabs a quick bite, and Rashi learns it's a mouthful, which Tosfos says is a shir kibetza, because the person could swallow a kibetza at once. That's considered achilas aray. Anything past that is considered achilas kava. That's how it's paskin in the halacha. Up until kibetza is considered merely a snack and is potter from sukkah. One can have a snack outside the sukkah. However, a short, light doze, a short nap, cannot be done outside the sukkah. My timer. What's the difference between a snack and a short doze? Amar Rav Ashi, you're right. A short doze really should be mutter. And the Sfardim and Farshim say is that a snack, a short doze, a person wouldn't hesitate to have outside his home as well throughout the year. That's not something that requires a house. It's not something that's really part of your dira. And sukkah is meant to be ke'en tadura. Right? It follows the all year round practice, and therefore just a snack or short doze is not really something that requires a sukkah. However, says Abai Rav Ashi, gzeru shema yiradim. A short nap, you know what could happen. It could lead to a prolonged sleeping experience, a deep, long sleep, and therefore we don't allow it. So it's a gzeru midrabban. Amali Abaye. If a short nap poses a concern of shema yiradim, then how come by tefillin we're not concerned? Amali Abaye halas sanya. How are you going to explain the following price? Yashin adam shenas aray betefillin. Although one is not meant to sleep a deep sleep with his tefillin, Rashi says there's a chashash that he might be mafiach, pass wind, which is disrespectful to his tefillin. But yashin adam shenas aray betefillin. A person could have a short, light nap when it comes to tefillin. Avaloy shenas kva, but not a long, deep sleep when he's wearing the tefillin. Leicha shema yiradim. How could you allow him to nap with his tefillin on him? He might actually fall into a deep sleep. Rav Yosef Breda Rav Eloi, you're right. We're speaking about a unique case. But Moiser Shinasa Lachirim. When do we allow a short nap for one who's wearing tefillin? Is only a case where he won't come to a deep sleep. He'll be Moiser Shinas. He'll hand over his sleep to others, meaning he has somebody. It's going to wake him up soon. Maskavler of Mesharsha. How does that work? Arvach, your guarantor. Arva Tzarech. He himself needs a guarantor. This is a common phrase, meaning you ask somebody to wake you up, what's to say that he won't fall asleep? So that's not really a good solution. Ella Amarabba Babrachana Rabbi Yehuda. When the Brisa allows a short nap with tefillin, we're speaking that he's positioned in a very uncomfortable position, which won't allow him to fall into deep sleep. But Maniach Roishe ben Birka Baskinan. His fellow is sitting with his head placed between his knees, crouched like that, in an uncomfortable position. He won't come to a deep sleep. So according to this approach in the Gemara, which is really Rav Ashi's approach, when it comes to eating and sleep, when it comes to eating and drinking out of the sukkah, a snack is acceptable. When it comes to a doze, a light nap, technically it's also fine. Unless there's a gzera, that it might lead to a deep sleep. The reason why we allow it by tefillin is because we're speaking in a case where we cannot come to a deep sleep. It would seem that we would apply the same thing to sukkah as well. If it's a situation where we cannot come to a deep sleep, it would be mutter by sukkah as well. Because shenas aray is mutter chutz l'sukkah. Rava Amar, he disagrees. He says when it comes to tefillin, a shenas aray is mutter. I'm not concerned about this fellow falling into a deep sleep. No, it's never a concern. That explains the brisa why a short nap is mutter by tefillin. So why then is it asur by sukkah? Rav Amar ein kval shena. When it comes to sleeping, there's nothing kavua, meaning we don't differentiate between a doze and a deep nap and a deep sleep. Why is that? Let's go over to Rashi. About 19-20 lines from the bottom. Rav Amar. He says, we're not afraid about falling into a deep sleep. Hilkach b'tefillin shari. That explains why a shinas aray, a short nap, is mutter by tefillin. because there's no chashash of hafacha by a short nap. If that's the case, what about sukkah? V'sukkah in the time of the asur shenas aray. L'fish ein kval l'shina. There's no permanence when it comes to shina. What does this mean? Ve'ein bo chiluk bein kval aray. There's no difference between a longer sleep and a shorter sleep. L'inyan sukkah she'ein adam kavei atzma l'shina. It isn't so. It isn't necessarily so that a person is kavei himself. Okay, now I'm going to sleep for 8 hours. At times, a person could just take a short nap and it suffices for the next couple of hours. That's his sleep. That has chashivas, like a real sleep. Just because it's a short nap doesn't take away from its chashivas. You can have the same effect, short-term effect, like a long sleep. And therefore, Rabbi says, this is important enough, this has significance, and that has to be done in the sukkah. That's specific to sukkah. But by tefillin, it's an unrelated concern there. The concern is because of hafacha, nothing to do with sleeping, it's just a side point, that this might lead to hafacha. Well, in that case, benayim purtally also the hafacha. A short nap won't generate the hafacha concern. So Rabbi has a chiddush that even a shinas aray is an important element in a person's day, in a person's life, and is considered like a sudas kavah and needs sukkah. Continues the Gemara, Tanicha, that we have a three-way machlekes, a three-way seeming contradiction between three brises. Tanicha, the one brisa it says, Yashan Adam etfilan shinas aray. A person may sleep a shinas aray with tefillin on him. Avalei shinas kva, but not a long, deep sleep. V'tanidach, we have another brisa, bein kva, bein aray. A person can go ahead and sleep a shinas kva and a shinas aray with his tefillin. Tanidach, we have yet a third brisa which says loy kva v'loy aray. Not this or that. How do we explain this? Like Kasha, the answer is they are describing three different events. Ha denaket lubiyade. The Brisa says one may not sleep aray or kava with tefillin. We're speaking where he's holding the tefillin in his hands. In which case, even if he takes a light nap, he might drop the tefillin. So it's us. Ha demanchi bereishe. When he's wearing it in his head, meaning he's actually wearing the tefillin, then a shinas aray is acceptable, as we just explained, whether because he has somebody waking him up, or because he's putting his head bein birkov, or according to Rav in all cases, a shinas aray is not a concern, but a shinas kava is because of passing wind. Ha, the brisa which says that any type of sleep is mutter, in the company of tefillin, is speaking, he's not wearing his tefillin. The purah is sudra iloyah. He has his tefillin nearby, covered with a cloth. And that's okay, even though he's sleeping next to it. We're not afraid he's going to roll over on his tefillin. We're not afraid of the fact that he's passing wind. Actually says, how else should he safeguard his tefillin? So he keeps it nearby, covered. In that case, the Brisa says, sleeping, keva, aray, is no concern. Now, when we speak about shenas aray, how long is a shenas aray? V'kama shenas aray? Tani Rami bar Yecheskel, k'dei hiluch mei amma. As long as it takes to walk 100 amma. The Mishnah Berurah says, some say this is merely 54 seconds, very short time. Tani Rami Hachi, we have a brisa in support of this definition that shinas aray equals 100 amma walk. Hayoshem betfilin v'roy keri. If one happened to be sleeping with his tefillin and he experienced a keri, oiches b'ritzu, he wants to remove his tefillin, he should hold on to the ritzua, to the strap, but not to the box itself. It's not respectful to actually hold on to the box when he is in the state of tumah. He shouldn't grab hold of the box itself. Did Rabbi Yaakov? They say, well, what business does he have coming to this experience with tefillin? He's not meant to be sleeping with his tefillin. Yoshin adam betfillin shinas aray. Although he can have a shinas aray with his tefillin, avalei shinas kva. V'kama shinas aray. Oh, what exactly is shenas aray? K'dei hiluch mei amma. As long as it takes to walk to 100 amma, and this is a raya to the definition mentioned earlier regarding shenas aray. Amar Rav, Asur la'adam lishan bayayim, yoser mishenas hasus. One is not meant to sleep during the day longer than a horse naps. Rashi says, it's brought down Shulchan Aruch. Time to sleep is at night. Daytime napping should be kept at a minimum. Now, how much is shenas hasus? V'kama shenas hasus? Shitin nishmi. 60 breath worth. Different shittas in the Mishnah Berurah. Exactly how long this is. Some say up to 3 hours. Some say a bit more than a half hour. Some say about 3 minutes. Different opinions regarding shita nishmi. Amar Abaye, and in fact, shouldn't say the Mar was Abaye's Rabbi. Abaye's daytime nap was kederav, was as long as Rav's nap. And Rashi learns that Rabbi learned that from Rav. That's how long the nap should be. Rav's nap was kederevi, was as long as Rabbi HaKadosh, Rabbi Nasi's nap. And Rashi learns that Rav grew up in Rabbeinu HaKadosh's house. So he kept the same practice. U'derebi k'dedavid. How long was Rebbe's nap? Like David HaMelech. Rashi says, Kach kibel ma'avoisav. This was his Kabbalah's tradition in the family. Shazu haisa shinas David Melech Yisrael. David HaMelech would only take short naps. And the chiddush is that by David HaMelech was even his nighttime custom. Even at night, he would only nap this shear of Shita Nishmi. He never wanted to really delve into a deep phase of sleep. The Gemara says in Brachas that sleeping is echad meshishim b'misa, 60th of death. He didn't want to experience that. V'de David k'desusya. David HaMelech's napping was like a horse, like we said. U'desusya Shita Nishmi, 60 breaths worth. So the point is that, at least by day, the Gemara says, a person should keep his napping to a minimum. And in fact, the Rambam actually paskins in Hilchas Madi, he says, "V'lo yishan b'yom." A person shouldn't sleep by day. So apparently, he's speaking about allowing himself to get into the deeper phase of sleep, which is short nap. The Gemara says, up until shenas hasus, apparently it doesn't pose a concern. So the Rambam is speaking on account of health reasons. A person should not sleep by day. It's going to sort of disrupt his biological cycle. And the Havdal and the health books, they bring the same, that a person should keep his napping during the daytime at a minimum. Listen to this. I once read from a Indian expert. He says that sleeping by day should be kept up to a half hour, no more. It's almost like the Gemara. If you hold that Shita Nishmi is a half hour, he says because up until that point, you're still at the lighter phase of sleep, which isn't really so detrimental to your system. But once you get past that, you get groggy and sleepy. And mamash fits with the Gemara with the Rambam. Says Abaye was once sleeping for a longer period of time. Kedem ayil, as long as it takes to go to travel, mi pum bedisa, from the town lebei kuvi, which was more than a half hour. Kari Rav Yosef declared on him the pasuk ad masai atal tishkav. Atzal, lazy one, until when are you going to sleep? Masai takum b'shnasech, when are you going to get up? Tana Rabbana, hanichnas lisham b'yom. One goes to sleep by day. Rotza chaylitz. He's wearing tefillin, right? He used to wear tefillin throughout the day. So he's coming in to have a nap. Rotza chaylitz. If he wishes, he can go and remove his tefillin. Rotza maniach. If he wishes, he can keep his tefillin on. Rashi says, because during the day, it's not the derech to engage in tashmish, and of course we're speaking that he intends only on taking a short nap. And since during the day it's not customary to sleep shinas kva, there's no concern it's going to drag on to a shinas kva. However, balayla, where it is customary to sleep a shinas kva, even if he doesn't really intend on doing so, we're afraid it might lead to a deeper sleep, to a longer sleep. Choylitz v'namanech has to remove his tefillin, and he can't have them on. Divei Rabbi Nas. So although a shinas right technically would still allow him to wear his tefillin, but since it's nighttime, the chashash, Rashi says, Dilma Milbach, he might change his plans and take a shenas kva, which is disrespectful to his tefillin. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Hayiladim, the youngsters, Rashi says, Bechurim, La'olam, Cholzin ve'einer manichan. always, even when they're engaged in daytime napping, they have to remove their tefillin. Because tumas keri, is a common occurrence by them. Because the Gemara figures we're speaking about chashash tumas keri, and because of their youthful exuberance, it can lead to this keri experience. Says the Gemara, Lema kasav Rabbi Yosi. Would it be true to interpret Rabbi Yosi's opinion? The reason why Rabbi Yosi requires removal is because he holds Bal Keri asal nech tefillin. Bal Keri may not wear tefillin, which is a chiddush. Is that true? Is that the pshat Rabbi Yosi? Says the Gemara, no. It's unrelated to tumas keri. Bal Keri may wear tefillin. Amar Abayi was speaking biyiladim. Unishasein imar. Was speaking about youngsters with their wives. Unishasein imar askinan. And here we're concerned that even if they're going to sleep by day, Shemiyavoy the hergel davar might bring about tashmish, which is certainly not appropriate to do with your tefillin. Tan Rabbanan, shachach b'shemesh mitasi b'tefillin. If a person engaged in tashmish and now remembers that he's wearing his tefillin, he wants to remove them. Don't hold on to the leiber tzur, not the strap, but leiber tzitza, neither the strap or the katzitza, the box itself. Until he washes his hands, and then he'll remove the tefillin because hands move around. And she says maybe they've touched a makam atinayfis and they're unclean. So first wash them and then remove your tefillin. Okay, so in summary, we learned several halachas regarding the tefillin. So if we're speaking about daytime activities, a shenas kava is asur shama yafiach, shenas arai, which is Kedei hiluch meya'amo, is mutter. We have two approaches. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we're speaking that he has his head buried between his knees. He won't come to fall to a deep sleep. Rava says in any case it's mutter because a person engaged in a light nap is not going to fall into a deep sleep. Now, if it's nighttime, once again, shenas kva is asur. What about if he only plans on engaging in a shenas arai? So we had the shita of the brayso that we just mentioned, that if it's nighttime, it can lead, even though he's not planning on it, but it can lead into a shenas kva and it's asur. However, Tosfos points out that it's really machlokes because Rabbi Yaakov mentioned on the last line of Amud Aleph, the first line of Amud Beis, seems to hold, so Tosfos learns, he seems to hold that a shenas arai is mutter even by Laila. That's how Tosfos learns the machlokes in Rabbi Yaakov and the Chacham over there. So he's chaylik on this concept. He says even during nighttime, we allow a shenas arai. We're not afraid of it getting involved into a shenas kava. Now, what about if he's simply holding on to his tefillin, not wearing them, just holding them? Then we had a brayso which doesn't allow any type of sleeping because he might just drop his tefillin. What if they're lying next to him and covered? Then any type of sleeping is mutter. Bal Keri is mutter in tefillin, but tashmish is asur while wearing tefillin. Continues the Mishnah. So we spoke about an achilas arai, which is mutter chutz l'sukkah. Now we're going to have some incidents involving Talmid Chacham who are machmer, who had their snacks dafka in the sukkah. Masa. They brought a little bit of the tafshel, the dish, to Rabbi Yehuda Zakai from to taste. It was sukkahs. They brought him shnei kasavas, 2 dates. Udli shalmayim, a pitcher of water. Va'amru, and they said, Helam sukkah, bring him up to the sukkah. We only eat in the sukkah, even a snack. Ukshenasla, Rabbi Tzadik, when they offered Rabbi Tzadik oichel, food, meaning bread, pachas mikabetza, less than a kabetza, he applied 3 leniencies. Number 1, Natali b'mapa. He grabbed hold of it with a mappa, with a cloth. He didn't wash his hands, less than a kazayis, doesn't need until sedayim. Until sedayim is on account of tumah. Well, less than a kazayis doesn't have that problem. Number 2, v'achal chutz l'sukkah. He ate it out of the sukkah. Just a snack. V'lei biruch achrav. Nor did he make birchas hamazon after the meal. And we'll see Rashi who explains the reason for this. Let's go over to Rashi. About 10-12 lines from the bottom. They brought him a machal pachas mikabetza. He did 3 things. Natal b'mapa. Lo natal yadav. Elokarach b'mapa yadav shenakis. He wrapped his hands with a mappa. because of hygiene concerns, but he wasn't concerned about until Sedayim. The Kasava Pacham Kebeitza Leba until Sedayim. V'Leba is Sukkah, and it doesn't require a Sukkah, it's just a snack. V'Leba Berachas Hamazon La'achrav. Nor do you have to make a Brachas Hamazon afterwards. The Darsh Rabbi Yehuda, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, V'Achalta V'Svata V'Rachta, which means Achila Sheyesh Bas Svia. Only an Achila which satiates, Ainu Kebeitza. So Brachas Hamazon doesn't apply. Aval of Fanav, says Rashi, of course, a Bracha Rishani, made B'Kodu, by a Bracha, even just a drop needs a Bracha. Shari Nana brings Hana, V'Asa Lahanis, but it was able to Bracha. So Bracha Rishani is certainly required, but not a Brachas Hamazon. Says the Gemara Masa list. Since when does a person bring a story to contradict himself? Here we say, Achilas Harai is Potter from Sukkah. And today we bring a story which proves otherwise. The Mishnah is meant to be learned as though it's missing some words, and this is how it's meant to be learned. Although min hadim, a snack is mutuchutz l'sukkah, however, in bala hachmer al-atzmei machmer, he chooses to be machmer, you're allowed to. But less be mishum yora. It doesn't give the impression of haughtiness. It's acceptable. This type of chumrah in this case is fine. In fact, we have a story to prove it. They brought him some food to eat. You see, this type of chumrah is acceptable. Farshim explain. See, sukkah is different. To them, a snack has chashivas. Every little thing that we do carries great significance. Such as a snack, going to eat, going to drink, avodas Hashem. So it has chashivas. And therefore, for them, this is like a meal. However, when they handed Rabbi Tzaddik some food, he wrapped his hands with a cloth, with a glove. He ate it out of the sukkah without brachas hamazon. See, he wasn't machmer. Says the Gemara, we have a diak from here. If it's less than a kibetza, it's a snack, and mutachutz l'sukkah. Apparently, ha kibetza by sukkah. If it would have been more than that, would have been a kibetza worth of food, he would have had to eat it in a sukkah. So we see that a kibetza is no longer considered a snack. There seems to be a refutation on Rav Yosef and Abaye, who told us on Chafav Amid Aleph that a mouthful, which is a kibetza worth, is still considered a snack. Says the Gemara, maybe you have to rework your diuk. Dilma, maybe pachas mikibetza netila ubracha leiboy. When the Mishnah says that it was less than a kibetza, that's pertaining to the other halachis. The reason why I didn't need netilas hadayim, didn't require bracha achroina, was because it was less than a kibetza. Ha kibetza, but if it would have been more, if it would have been a kibetza, boy netila, then he would have had to wash his hands, because a kibetza has tumah, potential tumas oichlan, and requires netilas hadayim. Boy netila ubracha, as well as a bracha achroina, bracha hamazon, because it's v'achalta v'zavata v'rachta achila sheish ba svia. But when it comes to sukkah, perhaps, even if it would have been more than the amount that he ate, even if it would have been a kibetza, sukkah is not required because it's still a snack, as long as it's a kibetza or less. Okay, let's just go over today's highlights. We discussed the fellows involved in writing and peddling the Sefer Torah, etc. They consider Oisik mitzvah and Pater min mitzvah. We learned about Holchei Drachim, which are Pater min Sukkah as well. The city guards, the farm patrollers are Pater from Sukkah as well. We had Abayis Pshat, Teshuv Kein Taduru, it's not a place for furniture. Rav's Pshat, you're going to invite a Ganav. Afkamina would be if he's stationed in one place. Going to Rav, he's left to make a Sukkah there. We learned about a Choyle and his Misham Shema Pater min Sukkah, Mitzdaris Pater min Sukkah, Achilas Harai, which the Gemara concludes to mean up until and including a kibetza, and Shtiyas Harai as well can be done out of the Sukkah. Of course, as we learned, you can be Machmer if you wish to. Regarding a Shinas Harai, you have a Machlekes. So Abaye holds that a shinas arai is technically mutter out of the sukkah, provided that we ensure that it doesn't come to a shinas kava. Rava disagrees. He says any type of napping has significance. Sometimes can have the same or similar effect to a long, deep sleep, and therefore you can't have it out of the sukkah. We learned about the halachas of tefillin. So there's a concern about shenas kva, shemayafiach, might pass wind. Shenas arai doesn't have that concern. So if it's during the day, shenas kva is also shenas arai is mutter, provided it won't come to a shenas kva. Balayla, we're concerned that even a shenas arai might lead to a shenas kva. That's shittas chachamim. Holding tefillin in one's hands is only mutter when he's wide awake. Placing them next to him would be mutter under all circumstances. About carry is mutter. Tashish for tefillin is inappropriate. We concluded with the Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Gamliel were machmer even when it comes to a snack. They had it dafke in the sukkah. Rabbi Tzaddik applied 3 leniencies to a eichel pachas from kibetza, no ntil sedayim, no berachas hamazayin, and he had it out of the sukkah. All the best to you. Hatzlacha Rav.